Welcome to the BullCast podcast. I'm Cort Winsett, and with me today is Cameron Spann.
Howdy.
And we have a guest, Wiggins.
It's just Wiggins.
I'm like, it's Wiggins.
We're making history here. I think this is the first time in BullCast we've had a guys-only session, like 3 guys.
Yeah.
Here.
Here.
Interesting.
I love it. I guess I should give a little tease to our guest, huh? So people know what we're working with.
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
I've got bullets, but I don't even know if I need the bullets. Listen, John Wiggins, or Wiggins as I affectionately call him, I have known this guy since I was like 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. He's from Mississippi. He lives in Jackson. Cream of the crop kind of dude. One of my favorite people on earth. He works for Trinity Apparel Group in the Jackson, Mississippi area. He's a graduate of Mississippi State University, Hale State, and he has worked in the men's custom clothing industry for 12 years. So, Wiggins, I am so pleased that you are finally on the show.
Me too, brother. I feel warm and welcome. And you did introduce me to the girl up front as Wiggins, and she reciprocated. So I felt at home.
My kids call him Uncle John, and sometimes I'll let John slip, and I'm like, who's John? No,
it usually takes me aback.
Yeah.
It's not a setback.
I love it. You want to be part of our list?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because Wiggins is here to talk about the clothing industry and all things clothes related.
As he flashes his blazer with the inside lining being $100 bills.
Yeah, $100 bills, y'all. He's looking good today. He's got on a nice blazer. But because we're talking about dressing, then it seemed only fitting to discuss the best dressed movie characters of all time.
Y'all have compiled a all-star list, by
It's
the way.
spicy.
Having
It is.
just read through it for the first time.
This is a strong list. I didn't really know that I was as into clothes as apparently I am. You want to kick it off?
I'm fine kicking it off on Wiggins. I don't know if you knew, but Cort's obsessed with shoes. That is his thing. Katie is obsessed with heels, and he's obsessed with sneakers in general, or anything.
Shoes.
Yeah.
Shoes. All shoes.
Don't pare it down to just a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
Just footwear in general.
All shoes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll kick it off. Again, this is the best-dressed male movie characters of all time.
Of all time.
Ooh, we're starting off with a spicy one. Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby.
Indeed.
Have you guys seen the Leo movie from, a decade ago?
I've seen
That
Leo
and the
movie.
1950s version.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
kind of that Sabrina, Great Gatsby area.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Robert Redford.
Of course, super rich dude, very nice dressed, very 1920s. Is that right?
1920s.
Yeah, roaring 20s, ivory dinner jacket, full dress, cocktail parties.
Everything's Art Deco. It's beautiful.
Good stuff. All right. Number 2, James Bond. Who can argue with that?
come on.
I mean, who
He
can
should be
argue
number
with
1.
that, right? Part of, what is it, M6?
MI6.
MI6, yeah. They must have like a clothier there.
You hear James Bond, you can go back as far as you want to. The most famous person I've ever met is Sir Sean Connery, the James Bond. Others have done well. Others have also tried and failed. I'm not going to name Roger Moore. Oops. But yeah, James Bond is Savile Row. It is bespoke tailored. It's cut to their body. And so you're thinking really, really high-end cloth, and somebody that walks into a room, all the heads turn. Daniel Craig, Casino Royale, he was wearing some really top-end stuff.
And it fits like a glove, tailored to the max.
Yeah, because, people don't know this. Before he passed away, Sean Connery, 6'6".
I did not know
but
that.
because of his proportions, they cut things a little bit differently, and he was often seated in his James Bond movies as opposed to standing next to co-stars because he was that tall.
I had no
mountain of a
idea.
man.
Now, did you meet him when you lived in
I
Scotland?
met him. Yeah, my wife got her master's degree in fine arts in Edinburgh, and at the same college that Sean Connery, whenever he was a teenager, was a nude model for the drawing class. He was not nude when I met him, thankfully. But
Did he have a kilt on?
He did not have a kilt on. He was wearing what you would see guys wear to a game day in the South. He was wearing Columbia PFG vintage shirt. He was rocking some Tevas. He looked like he'd just gotten off a crab boat, to be honest with you. But this was in his latter years, living in the Bahamas. I'm sure he brought the Bahamas with him wherever he went, especially a dreary day in Edinburgh, Scotland. But privileged to meet him. He actually gave me some quality time. And I really appreciated that. It was a really cool experience.
Next on the list.
That's obligatory.
Obligatory.
And I will not do it. Yeah, Roger Thornhill, North by Northwest.
I've never seen this movie.
Man, the airplane scene
How have
is
you not seen
iconic.
this?
Like, I know of the scenes, I just have never seen the movie.
Talk about somebody who had their clothes cut to fit. This guy was 3-piece suits, tweeds, seasonal stuff. It It was almost a show off of how versatile that film put him in different outfits and clothing to fit the moment. It was just really cool to see. Yeah, Cary Grant, he might take it down on my personal list.
Oh,
That film was iconic.
dang. Number 4 on the list is Dickie Greenleaf from The Talented Mr. Ripley. Do Not Kill Me, another movie I have not seen. I'm a movie
serious?
buff, but I just haven't seen it.
You made my voice crack. I'm surprised by that.
I know. So is Dickie, is that Matt Damon or is that Jude Law?
I think that's Jude Law.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's always svelte.
because Dickie Greenleaf is not the talented Mr. Ripley, right?
That tracks. That tracks. Yep.
That's a solid helping hand right there.
Okay, so actually, I saw this movie and I was surprised by how much I liked it. It's the Thomas Crown Affair, Thomas Crown in the Thomas Crown Affair, and the version that I'm talking about is the one with Pierce Brosnan. It was a remake. There was an earlier version that I have not seen, but the one with Pierce Brosnan and I think Rene Rousseau was in that.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was a strong movie. I really liked it, and he was a well-dressed man.
Absolutely. The next one, this one's iconic, maybe not for the same reasons that we think of in 2024, but Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
Yep.
Now, you're talking wide lapels. The most iconic thing that people in the industry cite here is the French blue shirt with the white collar and cuffs.
Yeah.
Really tall collar, really just a power move, pinstripe suits. You don't see that stuff repeated as often, but, 25-year cycle in my industry is a real thing.
Am I just making this up, or didn't he wear bracers? I mean, like,
Yes.
yeah,
He wore straight up braces in that film, really high waisted trousers with a 2-inch cuff. If you attend local churches, you might see people on the back end of that 20-year trend. Some pastors still wear some stuff like that, but not mine. But some that I've seen.
I was shocked the last time I went into church. The pastor had on jeans and a button down.
That's the way it's going.
That blew my mind.
Yep.
I think the taper jeans and the solid color T-shirt is kind of what you're going to see on the modern front. Being down in Mississippi, of course, we're 50th in a lot of things. I think our key to style is seersucker. That's typically where we stand out.
Easter is your Super Bowl, basically.
Basically.
Yep. Love it. Next on the list is Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Now, my first thought here is the clear rain jacket he puts on. But, of course, he dresses really nice in his suits. He's got his business card that he's very proud of. Yeah, good-looking dude.
Yep, 100%. Who was the actor?
Christian Bale.
Yeah,
Christian Bale. Thank
Yeah.
you. I thought for a second maybe there was one guy that had 2 characters on this list, but no. Christian Bale is not the same as the other guy. We'll get to the other guy in just a second. But next on the list is Michael Corleone, The Godfather.
That's a Godfather theme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll make a confession. I've never seen all of these in their entirety. I've only
you
caught the
serious?
20 to 30-minute snippets on TBS.
Oh, man.
After a Braves game, you fall asleep. You wake up at 1:15 in the morning, and The Godfather's playing.
Listen, this is a safe space. You can say you haven't seen a movie here.
I have actually watched The Godfather, but I watched it in my adulthood. Like it was something that I didn't watch until I was 30, 35 years old. I was watching a friend of mine's dogs, and he said, while we're out of town, feel free to come over here and use the places you want. And so I went over to his house and grabbed a beer and put on The Godfather and sat and watched The Godfather and gave his dog scritches for a couple of hours. I was like, I'm doing my job. It was awesome. But honestly, of all of the things about Godfather, the clothing is not something that really stood out to me.
I think that's because it's done really well. I think that so consistently, whether it's the main characters or background people, they are able to set you in that time without it being overpowering. Wall Street, it's in your face because especially 30, 40 years removed. But with something like The Godfather, everyone is wearing the wider lapels, the open collars, the chains, the chest hair, and the women are all wearing, silk dresses. It's that family mentality, cafe mentality, diner, dark corners, alleys, boardrooms.
You're right. The costumes just blend seamlessly in that series. Yeah.
Julian Kay from American Gigolo.
Boys, it's not my week. That's another one I haven't seen.
I
know the premise. I've seen scenes from it, but I've never seen it in its entirety.
This is an early Richard Gere movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably did something before this, but I don't know what. It's one of his first films.
He bared it all, didn't he? Isn't that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
a few
sir.
times. Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, this Yeah, this makes Pretty Woman look like Sunday school. This was out there. But, I mean, if you walked into that theater knowing the title,
Yeah,
you know
you've got it.
I mean, come on. American Gigolo, really? I mean, come on, guys.
Next on the list is Eggsy from the Kingsman movies. I do like these movies.
I do love it.
Taron
So
Egerton
good.
plays Eggsy, a younger, kind of secret agent dude.
Yeah.
Very nice suits, like with canes and all that. I mean,
Umbrella. Yeah.
Umbrella. Yeah, that's what it is. Umbrella. Yeah.
That's an entire premise of this movie, though. Like, their secret base is in a tailor's shop. So, I mean, like, the idea that he is well dressed is
It's a given. It has to be part of it.
Part and parcel of the entire movie. But I do love their suits. They have some great.
they have some excellent looking stuff. That's all hand tailored work that's being done where you're going in for 2, 3, 4 fittings to have everything done. The shoes are made custom. The neckwear is made custom. Whoa. It's over the top. I mean, it's something that very few people get to enjoy at that level. And of course they do. They work that into, hey, the exclusivity is just getting in the door. Past that, then you get into further tests and backdoor secrets and all the cool gadgetry and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's, kind of taking Bond and putting it on steroids.
Yeah. I really loved this movie, and I went and saw it. And I'm actually a comic book fan, so and it's based on a comic book. And but I had never heard of this particular comic, so I went and saw the movie and took my son. And at the time, he was a kid, and we went and saw this movie. And this is not for the youths.
The church scene with Freebird playing when they go ham on each other.
My word, it is. Yeah, I do love Eggsy. He's maybe my second favorite character on this list, but my favorite character on this list is Jacob Palmer.
Of course. Man crush?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, Ryan Gosling
Second.
in
Second. Retweet.
Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love. I mean, like, he is a well-dressed man. And honestly, I love his shoes. I obviously can't even talk about it. I love his shoes
You're hot and,
so much.
Hot and bothered.
Just like he wears some great shoes in that movie, and he also is well-dressed the entire time. And part of his character is the fact that he teaches what's his name?
Steve Carell.
How to dress.
The confidence that he has in his clothing, where there's a casual backyard scene where everything hits the fan, or if it's in the store slapping stuff out of Steve, being a little bit more slapstick, being a little bit more lighthearted. It's that confidence that he's building. I'm going to throw one extra in there.
Please.
Honorable mention.
Bonus.
When you're talking about period stuff, The Bodyguard.
Oh,
Whitney Houston and
Kevin Costner.
Mm-hmm. Like Kevin Costner, you can kind of see him change. He's kind of going from sleepy old detective, former law enforcement, into this role and realizing he's with Hollywood elite, and he starts to find feelings, and his progression throughout that movie. You can see him start to kind of step it up, which is kind of fun to see. He's an actor that can pull off almost any period, but in that movie, his wardrobe kind of just drew you in and kind of warmed up his character, which I thought was really cool. It's awesome how Hollywood can do that, and so that's one that kind of sticks out to me.
That's a great bonus ad. Well, there's the list.
Yeah, so we have Wiggins here today. I mean, if it's not clear already, we specifically have him here to talk about dressing.
Dressing the man in first impressions. And it's like, where do we even begin with this conversation? I'm very excited about it, but maybe just like the idea of first impressions, because that's why you dress nice, right?
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah, everyone's going to be noticed. You're going to get noticed. If you're meeting someone new, if you're being introduced by an old friend to strangers, everyone's going to get noticed. The key is being noticed for the right reasons. Dealing in an industry around clothing, it's not necessarily about fit in this box, wear this fabric, choose this coat. I live in a part of the industry that is, as Cort and I were talking about right before we started recording, is just finding people where they are, finding their comfort zone. You're seeing that a lot more now, even in the professional space, which is kind of fun to see. The company I work for, we manufacture clothing, and it's not just suits, sport coats, blazers, tuxedos, dress shirts. We're getting into more technical fabrics, stretch, wrinkle resistant. We're doing things like bombers, zip vest, drawstring trousers, using really high-end, high-tech fabric so that people don't have to change out of themselves. They can just change their wardrobe based on what they're doing, who they're seeing. So we all make impressions. Cam knows me better than Cort does. Cort sees me as somebody with a sport shirt and sport coat, and I've got my boots on, which is a typical everyday fare. Whereas if I were hanging out on a Sunday afternoon with Cam, it would be, T-shirt, shorts, slides,
cut off hoodie.
I oftentimes people are like, no, what do you do? I'm like, I don't look like it. And then I describe it, and it can throw them for a loop. But it's just having things at your disposal.
Sure.
I was going to bring up the fact that he's a big outdoorsman. You're a hunter, fisher, so I assume you're wearing the proper clothing for that when you do that, right?
If you're into shoes, I dabble in that, but where I get into things is, being prepared for the elements, for situations, for weather conditions, terrain, and not necessarily just like the right pattern of camo, because if I were going to pick one pattern, it would be mossy oak bottomland. I'm a Mississippi boy. I'm loyal to those guys. Lovingly refer to bottomland camo pattern as redneck Louis Vuitton. And you're actually starting to see that more and more in on the higher end of fashion. I think the Met Gala had somebody in a camouflage dress last year, or gown, I should say. But yeah, I mean, I love being outdoors. And of course, if you're going to be exposing yourself to hours and hours and hours. I love to duck hunt. You don't find ducks in 68 degrees and sunny.
Right.
So you got to dress accordingly, layering, all those different things. So yeah, it's something that if you were to tally up all of my wardrobe, I probably have more invested on the outdoorsy side than I do on the dress side.
Let's give our listeners a day in the life at Trinity Apparel.
Okay.
I feel like that would be helpful.
Sure.
So you want to kind of talk about what that looks like and what your clientele is all about?
Yeah.
What your role is?
Yeah, a couple of things. I work Trinity Apparel Group. I've been there for a little over 8 years. I come from a background of actually working in client-facing, meaning I used to put tape measure on people, measure them for clothing, show them fabrics, talk about their wardrobe and what their social calendar, work calendar had 3 to 6 months out. So kind of a consulting role directly to the consumer. Now that I'm working in the manufacturing and wholesale side, what it looks like is we have a lot of accounts. We've got roughly 500 accounts active, putting in orders here in the domestic U.S. We've got more globally, a few in Australia, 6 or 8 in the U.K. We've got 1 in Puerto Rico, and then a few in Canada. So I may be fielding phone calls. I may be getting on a Zoom call and doing some further training. Our system is built around a platform. We are not a brand. You won't be able to go to trinity-apparel.com and type in anything and get past the password wall. So it is for our accounts. We do not sell directly to the consumer. But what we do have is dealers across the U.S. that use our platform after they've met with a new client and measured them and talked about how they want things styled and what fabric to use. They log into our website, give us all those details, and then we take over from there. But aside that, one of the greatest things that I find joy in day-to-day is spending proactive time talking to different accounts about how to build their brand. No one walks into a store, whether it be brick and mortar, studio space, and say, hey, I need a Trinity suit. They come in and say, hey, Joe Snuffy, you dress my dad, you dress my fraternity brother, you dress my law partner, you dress the top guy in our financial planning firm. It's time for me to step it up. And so they are buying into that person's brand. So I love to come alongside people and figure out a way to update their brand. If they're sunset people, they don't want to touch their brand. And I'm like, well, hey, if you're thinking about selling off your book of clientele, you may want to update your brand so that you can have a higher yield. But a day typically is getting in, meeting with the warehouse staff, looking at what we have coming in from our 2 factory sites. All of our stuff flows through Mississippi. If you knew that Shaquille O'Neal's suit comes through Jackson, Mississippi before it makes it on his rather large frame, you wouldn't think that. But
no, you wouldn't. I
owner,
didn't think anything really, if I'm being honest, I didn't really think there was anything coming out of Mississippi.
Yeah.
It's
not being made there, but we basically run our company, and this is part of the reason why I love helping people brand and staff and upskill and train, is it's made overseas but we run the company like a Mississippi-based company. It is very relational. I tell people all the time, I do all of the training for new accounts. So if you sign up with us, whether you're in Manhattan, Kansas or Manhattan, New York, you come through me first. We don't just give people a username and password and say, hey, bud, holler at me if you have any questions. I'd kind of take them through the campus tour and say, not just, hey, the library's over there, but like, hey, let's come check out like the old section, the antique books. Like, let's take a deeper dive. And I always tell people, if I wanted to, if I punched the wall to the left of my desk, my hand would end up in the owner's office. So we're not run by a conglomerate. We're not fueled by somebody in Chicago making big decisions. I frequently attend Mississippi State football games with the owner and founder of our company. He's somebody that's known me for a very long time. So everything is relational. There's a human touch point to everything that we do. So we try to take that mindset in the Mississippi home office.
That's how we run things here, right, Cort? It's all about relationships. That's how you build business. That's how you build trust, because trust is difficult to build, but it is very easy to lose. And so you've got to always have a touch point with them and be transparent and have good communication,
Yeah, we're working on a couple of big events right now with a lot of our accounts. The NFL draft is this upcoming Thursday, depending on when you're listening to this. And the Kentucky Derby's right on the corner. And when you're talking about high fashion this time of year, those two events, especially the Derby, are knock down, drag out. You got to set yourself to the upper crust if you're going to get noticed at the Derby, unless you're Tom Brady, and then you can just wear like a Brooks Brothers button up and get away with it and get praised for it. So yeah, it's definitely a relational thing. We don't ever want to lose the touch point of human interaction. So therefore, we push it from the manufacturing side that, hey, this is not about our company. We win when you win, and you make more profit than we make on your transactions. But when you're selling somebody, especially a first-time client, 3 or 4 suits, and they're making a very high-dollar transaction, and they leave with nothing more than a receipt and a promise that in 4 weeks they're going to be made over. They're going to have a brand-new wardrobe. They're going to have confidence builders and tools in their tool chest.
Let's dig into that a little bit, because, I mean, we're talking as though everybody that is listening to us knows, but I would be interested to hear just exactly what goes into this kind of, we're talking about basically custom-made clothing.
Yeah. The industry term that we would use would be made to measure, meaning I take Cam, I measure Cam collarbone to ankle bone and figure out what his body physically is. But you don't just plug those numbers in. Then you get into, how do you like your clothes to fit?
Right.
Some people, Cam and I have talked about this before, just kind of in prep, people that do public speaking for a living, they cannot have as close of a fit through their stomach where they button their sport coat or their suit coat, because they're working the diaphragm. They're projecting to an audience. Whereas what you see when you watch the Oscars, the Grammys, those things are cut and tailored to fit that day. Mm-hmm. So if Matt Damon is at 205 instead of 201, the seamstress will let it out. So we are somewhere between what you would find at a big box store, a Nordstrom, big department stores like that, and what you would see custom tailored for the upper elite. So what we do is it's made to measure. It's one of one. It does not start as some kind of block or test garment. We are laying out fabric. Our system is then laser cutting your pattern, not just based on your body, but also your input of how you want your fit. And then, of course, along with that, since it's being made from scratch, if you want your child's name monogrammed underneath the collar on the back, if you want Hail State or Go Cowboys in the heel guard of your trouser, that can be done. If you want different felts, you want different buttons, stitches, there's all kinds of different things that you can do, as well as the superior fit, because it's cut for you. It's not a starting block for that's just 42 regular, 46 long. So people get really invested in that.
Part of the reason that I'm so fascinated by it is our boss, he gets tailored suits.
And he gets the DAP, his initials on his sleeve or pocket. Yeah.
And,
just like that. That's right.
Yeah. Yep. And so I know that this episode is going to be, I hope it's going to be a fun listen for him, because I think he will appreciate this. But I walk between buildings frequently, right? And we have glass doors, and as I'm walking up to the glass door, I see my reflection, and I'm like, wow, I really look like garbage. I cannot find clothing that fits me right. It absolutely drives me crazy. I'm constantly either my shirts are too tight or they're too baggy, my pants, the whole thing is just an absolute mess. And it's so I've always kind of like, if I had the money, I would I would get myself some custom tailored clothing, but instead I go to the Gap.
And that's where a lot of people are. My start in this industry was as a consumer. I was a college senior. I was with my fiance. We were going to see her cousin graduate from MC Law down in Jackson. Former Governor Bill Waller was going to be speaking. My future in-laws were going to be there. So I did what any college senior would do. I grabbed the shirt that fit the best.
Sure.
I did not shave. And at the Target on Flowwood Drive outside of Jackson, we stopped for me to shave in the Target bathroom. That did not go well. I don't think I've shaved since. And I bled all over the collar of the white shirt that I had. So me being 6'1", 300 pounds with a abnormally large neck, it meant that I just had to go to a department store and try to find like the right size shirt.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Everything I had was just kind of make do. And a lot of people just make do.
Right.
Whether you're hitting the thrift stores or whether you're raiding your uncle's closet or whatever the case may be, it's tough for everybody to find a brand that they can trust will fit them if they buy the right size, because brands change. They're selling to the masses. They're producing in mass. And so I just stuck my head in a shop in downtown Jackson as they opened on a sleepy Saturday morning. And they said, well, we only do custom. However, I had a client who never came to pick up a white shirt. Let's try it on. And it fit close enough. And I ended up wearing that shirt for 2 years until my parents said, well, why don't we buy you some more
Why
custom
don't we
shirts?
wash it? Because you had this on for 2 years now.
Yeah, I was definitely that guy. There's no doubt about it. But then I went back to this same store and got measured up for my own custom sport coat and dress shirt. And I just wore it and wore it and wore it. And I would save up money and I would go back and I would buy, a suit. And then eventually the relationship became like, hey, you have a gift for people. You have a gift for, if you have any interest in this industry, I'd love to hire you on, teach you how to measure people, how to show fabric, how to deliver clothing, how to get an exact fit, nip, tuck, tweak, all those little things that happen to custom clothing. And so got into it, worked there 4.5 years, and then transitioned over to where I am now in logistics for the manufacturer. But yeah, that is a common problem. And I hear that a lot, like, oh, if I just had the time, oh, if I just had the money, like I think it'd be worth it. But at the same time, even in our office, like we're dressed very casually. It's not uncommon for me to go to the warehouse and spend some time specking out clothing. I'm not wearing a suit when I do that. I'm wearing jeans and boots and a T-shirt and what we typically kick around in.
Yeah. For David Pickler, the time and money is worth it because what he wears is part of his brand. He's got the 3-piece suit with the vest. He's got the suspenders. He's got the
I've noticed
the
he's a
pocket watch.
vest guy.
He's a vest guy with the pocket
he's a
watch.
3-piece guy.
Yeah.
Everything that I've seen on y'all's PR and social media, he is very well put together. He dresses really, really well, and he gets in front of so many people.
He does, yes.
That I can tell that variety, like he has a fit, he has a style, so he has that brand mentality, but at the same time, he likes variety. He's somebody
That's a good point. He is in front of so many people at so many different events. He does need variety. He has so many different colored suits. It's the same fit,
Right.
but colors, the pinstripes, different tie colors.
Yeah, it's important. Like first time guys, 25, 26, getting out of law school, they're a junior associate at a law firm. Wiggins, what do I buy? Navy solid suit. And if you're going to have one suit that fits you really well, Navy solid suit, Cameron Spann.
Yep, that's me. One suit.
And the reason is everybody, and this is from the book, there's actually a book called Dressing the Man. If anybody's interested in just kind of looking at sartorial etiquette, what to wear when not to wear things, how to put yourself together, Dressing the Man is not just for people who are physically measuring people. It's a great consumer book to pick up or take a browse at. It actually talks about the way they talk about a Navy suit. Everyone looks healthy and vigorous in Navy. It goes with so many different skin tones, whether you're white, black, brown, olive complected. It goes well with different skin tones, and it makes a good impression, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, but it's also very forgettable. If you're going on a 2-day conference to Nashville, Chicago, New York, and you only have room to take one suit, or you only own one suit that fits you really well, you take the Navy suit, you take a white shirt, you take a baby blue shirt, you take a yellow tie, red tie, green tie. You can come up with a bunch of different things. You can even take some khaki pants or some olive dress pants, and you can mix the suit coat in as a sport coat. That's kind of a big no-no, but people do it all the time because it's effective. You can come in and grab people's attention and look well put together, but then the next day when you wear your Navy suit again with a different shirt, different tie, all of a sudden the tie becomes the focal point. So yeah, for people like David and people that are dealers dress, that are public speaking, motivational speaking, pastors, politicians, plaintiff attorneys, they do sell that as a point of, you need to be versatile. If you're going to wear something bold like the sport coat I'm wearing right now, find myself around Collierville tomorrow and you saw me wearing a blue shirt and the same sport coat, you would wonder if I bathed.
Yeah.
You would wonder how, like, hey, okay, that's just one thing. You don't want to become the guy who's like, oh, Cort's wearing his sport coat again.
Right.
So, yeah, it's something that people build towards. Black, navy, gray, tan, taupe, olive, and brown. Those are the 7 colors that you need to not have a suit in each one, but have different mixable, matchable pieces as you're kind of building things.
I feel personally attacked, but listen, my blue suit works at church, work, funerals, and weddings. Hey.
Yeah. I mean, the next thing
It's boring, but I'll take it.
It's boring, but it's efficient. Off of a navy blue suit, I would then go charcoal gray, just because it fits the dress-up occasions. If you get invited to a governor's ball, you get invited to an award ceremony, charity events, like we're just now coming out of the charity season, and most say black tie optional. That means please wear a tie and a suit, and don't wear your blazer from 9th grade. Don't squeeze the sausage to the sleeves. But charcoal gray, because you can wear blue shirt, green tie for an engagement party, but then you can turn around when great Aunt Mabel dies the following week, white shirt, black tie. You can look like the somber undertones. You can kind of pull those out. So that's typically where I tell people, start with a navy suit, go charcoal gray. After that, you might want to mix in a subtle pattern. Pinstripes aren't really in, but plaids and window panes, geometric patterns flatter every human form. Short, tall, big, small, it works out. So those would be the things that I would start with. And if you walk into these big box stores or you walk into local establishments, you'll see that reflected on what's hanging on the wall. Navy is easily accessible. Charcoal gray, banker's gray, same thing. The only black suit you should have is a tuxedo.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Wow,
I think
ouch. I feel attacked.
My
only suit is a black suit. I have my go-to suit is a black suit. So
that's still fine.
he's going to back it up right now.
I'll back it up. Fun fact, my grandmother and Johnny Cash were first cousins. So I'm all about a black suit. I have a black suit, but sartorially speaking, your black suit should be a tuxedo. But I've worked in this industry for 13 years. I ordered my first custom tuxedo in January.
Really?
Because I was going to a charity event down in Naples, Florida, that did not say black tie optional. It only said full dress, meaning you show up.
Mother, you better.
Don't let the Uber get off too far because we're probably not going to let you in. But, tuxedos are fun. It's where you can get a little bit flashy. So if you've got a solid black suit, rock it. You can definitely go white shirt, black tie, black suit, and command attention.
How many Ferraris did you see at that charity event?
Well, the guy that I went with took his Range Rover to a buddy's house and borrowed his Bugatti to drive us to the event, just to really put it out there. Naples, Florida is a special place.
Special meaning rich.
Yeah, it's 1,900 people all year round, except for the spring months where Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York, Chicago, they all descend, and that's where they have their fast cars and their big houses and their fun boats, and they come down there and they spend the winter there, which I would too. And that's the other thing about clothing too. It varies nationwide. And it's not just climate. You go to Arizona, you are not going to see people dressing like they do in Memphis.
Right.
It's partially because it's hot and dry, but you're not going to see a lot of suits being worn. And of course, as we're kind of getting to a back to office, return to office state in America, coming out of, 2020, 2021, as people are returning, that's starting to become more evident. That's why we're getting into things like bomber jackets and custom denim and zip vest. If you've ever seen the memes of Wall Street, like the Chad, Brad, Thad, all that stuff. Yep. They're wearing a Patagonia zip up vest, blue jeans, loafers, and a white button up shirt.
Finance bros.
Yeah, they're finance bros. they're going to grab a bagel and a beer after work and just kind of, hang out. They're not wearing suits as often anymore.
Man, you read my mind. That's a perfect segue because we have an interesting bullet point on this outline. Dress down versus dress up dynamic in today's culture. We live in an athleisure culture. I think that's still rolling. It's very comfortable. You've got your spandex. Just everything is stretchy and breathable. Has that affected your industry at all?
It has, because, we move in seasons. You can't just go out and source the fabrics that we use to make men's custom clothing. It's not possible. It's not being CNC'd by Ford in Detroit. You have to go to some of the places in the world like Spain, Italy, Peru. There's a lot of different sources for these fabrics. So as that kind of came about, it was starting up in 2018, 2019, but then when 2020 hit, it was just like mash the gas. We need everything that is knit, that is stretched, that is moisture wicking, that is breathable and comfortable. Because as people, started working from home, they're punching on their computer, they're talking on the phone, they're hitting Zoom for 2 hours at a time. And then you have time to get outside. You have time to walk around the block. You have time to go hit the city park with your kids because it's the longest spring break of all time. And as people started to become used to that, they said, we're not going back to wool. We're not going back to scratchy, itchy, 80 grit sandpaper, cheap suits from, the discount wholesalers that you can find next to every Starbucks. So, but it's fun because it allows us things like being able to print geometric patterns on things. You're able to source these wool, linen, cotton blends that are light. So it's not just, hey, I'm heading to the Bahamas, so I'm going to, pull the linen suit out of the closet. It's becoming everyday wear, these blended technical fabrics. And what they're able to do in the industry as far as like how these fabrics are woven together is phenomenal. Elastine, Tyroline, all these synthetic fabrics that really boost the performance of things like cotton and wool.
11 or 12 years ago when I was doing modeling and acting in Wiggins' prior job where he did a lot of measuring, right? That was a big part of it. I came down to Jackson. He measured me because I was going to model for one of their campaigns. And we did that. Suit looked great. We went out and hit the golf course before the shoot. He smoked me in the face with the golf ball, but it's my own fault because I was like filming him down low by the...
He was getting artsy and was like not on a knee, like not like huddle, but he was hands and knees, and I went Happy Gilmore on a golf ball. I'm not good from a standstill. I am naughty Scheffler to use current events, and we got it, and I think that was during Vine. If I'm not
that was a Vine
mistaken.
video, yeah.
It didn't go super viral, but man, that was a good time. That was at the Refuge out there by the Jackson Airport.
I didn't get scarred up or anything, but I was like, I'm gonna get a big old bruise before the shoot.
Yeah, that was a fun time. I remember that suit that you wore.
Yep.
Yeah, that was Italian fabric.
Doesn't fit, but I have it.
Yeah, keep it. Keep it. Hold on to it. We'll find a shadow box for it one day. That was a good memory.
Obviously, we are a financial podcast, so at some point I have to bring up the financial
obligatory
aspect of this and say we don't have to dance around the cost of this. I mean, on average, what is a person looking at if they want to get a custom tailored suit?
That's a great question. This is kind of where markets may vary, but if you're walking into a brick and mortar store that advertises they're selling custom men's clothing, you're pretty much, for 100% wool, you're looking $1,200, $1,300 as an opening price point. It will go up as high as you want to take it. Average cost is probably $1,400 for a suit and probably $900 for a sport coat. And then when you compare that to similar fabrics that are just off the rack, meaning, hey, I'm a 44 reg, and you walk in, you'll probably pay 20 to 30% more to have it custom made. Turnaround times, typically 4 to 6 weeks. We all have a calendar, regardless of how well or how poorly we keep it. And so a lot of our accounts will kind of get people in that thought process of like, let's sit down in February, figure out when nieces are getting married, figure out when your son's high school graduation is, figure out if you've got any trips planned, anniversaries. You would be surprised how many men are going to wear custom for their wedding, and they come into one of our accounts 3 weeks before their wedding and say, I need a custom tuxedo and a shirt.
Is it immediate no, or do you try to work with them?
We try to work with those people because we understand. I mean, in the business that I'm in, dealing with things like global markets, dealing with things like international logistics, I'm in the middle between manufacturing site and account. The account holder with us is in between manufacturer and end user, their client. And so we try to keep them enabled to not just sell to customers, but to have clientele. That's the biggest fulcrum point in successful business, I feel like, is not just transactional, hey, customer in, money in hand, goods out, customer out. That's not sustainable long term. It's not sustainable for us as a manufacturer and wholesaler either, which is why, brand is really, really important. Brand strength, brand visibility. So yeah, but that's kind of what you're looking at. Shirts are probably $150 to $200 for cotton shirts. The cool thing is that we do all of the monogramming, and if you want yellow buttons on your blue shirt and you want your chest pocket on your sport coat to puff out with the lining fabric, if you happen to be using Benjamin Franklin's as your interior lining, we do all that stuff with no extra charge. There's no nickel and dime.
That's cool.
Now, if our account wishes to do that, that's fine. And they probably have some clientele in some markets. There's a lot of hot markets in the United States for fashion. Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, probably not two of that group. Because what you expect around here is just for people to look the part. And that's why when people take an individual interest in what they're wearing and how it's cut, they stand out. They get noticed for the right reason. They're not doing it because, David Pickler doesn't get noticed because he's dressed like Dumb and Dumber at the bar, wearing orange and blue suits.
With a fluffy,
with the ruffled formal shirt. He's getting noticed because variety, because of fabric, because of cut. Not everybody comes in because they're Shaquille O'Neal.
Right. Some
people come in to one of our accounts to get measured because they just can. It's always interesting to see those people versus the people that have legitimate fit issues. Funny story, I got called by an account 4 or 5 years ago. He's up in Virginia, and he called me and said, John, I have a huge favor. And I was like, what is it? And he said, the second tallest man in America needs a pair of trousers. And I was like, first of all, if I'm the second tallest man in America, I'm telling everyone I'm the tallest man in America. Like, who's going to call you out on that?
That's right.
Who's going to check? That's like, it's not like I am in the Guinness Book of World Records. Go to your local library. I used to love going to the Winston County Library, childhood moment.
Yeah.
It was a straight shot from y'all's house.
It was, yeah.
You walk out the front porch, hang a right. If you can get over those two major thoroughfares, you're there. So anyway, back to the story. I told him, I said, second tallest man in America. I would claim number one, and also, how old is the tallest man in America? Like, how is he 6 years out from taking the title? Is the guy like 19 and he's just he's gonna die knowing he's the second tallest man?
Yeah.
But a typical outseam, Cam, your outseam's probably 42 on your trousers, on your jeans. You're probably 39, 40. This man had a 51-inch outseam.
Holy
so not
cow.
only was he the second tallest man in America, it was all leg. The man had a torso like Danny DeVito.
It went from
just
collarbone to leg immediately.
Yeah, he sent me a picture. It looked like he was on stilts. It was Ripley's Believe It or Not via text. So it's not always, I love luxury. That doesn't have to be your reason for buying custom clothing. It can be to...
It'd be necessity.
Yeah, it could be a necessity. It could be a want. It could be just a fit need. There's a lot of different things.
I'd like to have something that actually fit me. I'm constantly buying larger waisted pants because to get off the rack pants that fit my legs, I've got to have a bigger waist. Listen, I would
that is a constant problem. We have a lot of accounts that dress because of fit issues and because of their high earning income. A lot of professional athletes. The toughest fit in the professional athletic world is a hockey player. Because these dudes are like 5'8" to 5'10", and they are all just butt, quad, hamstring, calf. They're essentially speed skaters. If you watch the Olympics where they're wearing spandex instead of thigh pads, you can get an idea for how tough of a fit they are. If they go to buy jeans and they buy for their waist of 34, they can't get it past their knee because their thighs are so big. And so that's a common problem with people that have a larger lower half than upper half. you have to size up to a 36, 38, and then you constantly have to wear a belt. You're constantly bound up. And so that's where things like custom denim has taken off. There's a couple of companies in the U.S. that do it. We kind of dabble in it. We're kind of on the forefront of that effort, trying to build that. But it's interesting to see out there because very few people are wearing, dress clothes. And people are wearing what the three of us are wearing right now. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit more casual. We got button-up shirts on and, cotton trousers, but they're certainly not our grandfather's cotton trousers.
Right.
Since you're recording here in Memphis with us, you guys have outfitted Ja Morant and Penny Hardaway, right?
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about my job. I am a large Mississippi boy. Our one of our two owners refers to me as a Mississippi Small. That's one of his favorite. He's born and raised in Long Island, lives in Connecticut. But when I go to these trade shows and I start to meet with some of our accounts and we're kind of in a more casual, relaxed setting where we're just talking about this next season's line and what fabrics we have coming out to fill those needs, like it's the time where I become the owner for a moment and they are my client and they're saying, did you hear what we said we needed? Yes, it's coming. We've got new linings. We've got new tech fabrics. We've got new models, new options. They're able to tell me about success stories. And so we've got some accounts that have, if you've seen a Capital One commercial in the past 2 years with Samuel L. Jackson, you've seen some of our clothing. If you've seen anything on Fox, one of our accounts has the Fox Sports contract. So, Terry Bradshaw and all those guys at the desk. We've done John Morant. And when I say we have helped. Like, we're the silent partner. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
This silent partnership that just tries to really encourage that physical interaction. There's one man that's selling that clothing to that other man. So the success is very hand to hand, same side of the table feeling, which is something that I have a lot of friends that in different occupations and vocations do that same work, same side of the table, not across the cash register, not just transactional. What do you need? What do you want? Here's the price. Get, go, move on. We're working in a business where in order for somebody on the West Coast to get a high-end client like a Shaquille O'Neal, like a John Morant, Samuel L. Jackson, T.I., Luke Combs, Riley Green, all these different big names, getting them is one thing. Keeping them as a client with their schedules and their tours and their shoot dates, that's where people that excel in relationship businesses do really, really well in our industry.
Yeah. And we're kind of coming up to the end of our episode, but probably 10 minutes ago you mentioned brand in passing. And as Chief Branding Officer, it's obligatory. I got to kind of dive into that. As far as brand building and protection, do you see yourself as a brand ambassador for Trinity Apparel, or do y'all say that's marketing's job? How would you define that?
Well, being a Mississippi-based company, it's a lot like pulling off a crawfish bowl. There's a lot of hands.
Love it.
There's a lot of hands that go into the work. Somebody's cutting sausage. Somebody's peeling garlic. Somebody is getting the water ready. Somebody's, purging the crawfish at least 3 times. One time I did it twice.
Not enough.
I did nothing the next day. Hollered for mama. But there's a lot of different hands in it. We have a great marketing team that really focuses more of their efforts on like the imaging. I recently went over to Atlanta and got in the studio space with one of my coworkers that lives in that world of marketing. And it was great for me to get in and see him shoot some fabrics done up with a model made for that model. And then 2 months later, see the end result of what we're pushing out mid-season to say, hey, don't forget, like you can do it this way, you can do it that way, you can do it this way. And then seeing people kind of, throughout the market, Arizona, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, New York, Miami, all different regions and clientele bases kind of swim up and nibble at it from different directions. Because we're not building a Trinity Apparel Group brand, we're just trying to facilitate a much broader swing to enable people and encourage people like, hey, we can do things for you. You may not love 100% of it, but you can take the 15% that has the highest return of investment for you and your brand in Atlanta, in Chicago, and make it Atlanta or Chicago. It doesn't have to be one size fits all, because that's the whole purpose of our industry, is that everyone's different. Everybody has a different brand. Spoke to an account. I keep saying Arizona probably because I had a call with a guy this morning on my way here. I mean, this guy worked in big box retail, And he stepped out on his own and said, I want to make my own brand. I want to do custom clothing. I've had success using all the brands that Nordstrom has to offer, but I want to step out on my own. He did that about 18 months ago. He sent me a text 2 weeks ago that because of how well his brand is going locally, he just bought his first house.
Whoa.
That's the part of the business that I latch on to. I love the Cam. You've known me long enough to know that, like, I love people.
Love them.
I love people. I love relationships. Yes, experience is key, but that guy took a leap. He had absolutely no sales history in men's custom clothing before he signed on with us. So he and I got in at the ground level. I taught him how to measure. I taught him how to show fabric. He had never done it this way before. And to catch that text a year and a half later, somebody that I text with regularly, and his gratitude. I mean, like, I know you guys do a lot of stuff in financial planning, wealth advising. These relationships go really, really deep in our industry on the client level, because if you're willing for somebody to measure you, you're willing to get intimate with them. Yeah. I mean, I used to measure the rise, and the guy that taught me how to measure would stand off in the wings and be like, hey, he's about to use his teeth. So get ready. But if you're willing to stand in T-shirt and shorts and get measured by somebody and talk about your body, you're willing to get very deep. And so I saw people, especially when I was on the retail side, people in lobbying, people in financial planning, they would not only open up to us, but when you put on custom clothing and you have that confidence and somebody looks at you, they're looking for legal advice, they're looking for financial advice, and you are that well put together. When you put on custom clothing, you've done it, the confidence goes through the roof.
It does.
And that's the internal part that oozes out. But the perspective of you is like, he took the time to have that made. It's not always a flashy thing. It's not always flaunting money. It is, waking up in the morning and putting on custom clothing. I still do it for events and for travel and trade shows. It's a different feeling. When you go to close your custom trousers and it just fits and you don't feel bound up, you start to walk a little bit different. And so I know people, and our CFO comes from a financial planning background, very close friend of mine. And we've worked together for a long time, been friends since college. When you're talking about doing someone's taxes, when you're talking about help them plan for like generational wealth, when you look like you've taken the time to fully prepare for that meeting just by what you're wearing, it goes a long way, especially now that we're living in the days of facial hair. Every guy has facial hair. So your clothing matters a little bit more. Here I am sitting with a full beard. But, I think it's really, really important. And I don't care if your put together is a cardigan and chinos and shoes that you bought on a spring break trip to Spain your junior year of college. As long as you're putting yourself together, that's really all that matters.
To fill you in, when we wrap up our shows with what we call the bullseye, which is a good, like a simple way for you to sum up the episode or maybe some advice. So my bullseye I've been thinking about was exactly what you said. And I'm talking to men only here. Not every man can afford a $1,500.
Ladies, play the T Swift album.
That's right. Not every man can afford, especially young men, can afford a $1,500, $2,000 suit. But just go out and find a suit that fits you, maybe a couple $100.
Yeah.
Just a good suit. Because it goes so far with perception, public perception. You're branding yourself. I mean, we've talked about David Pickler. He's got very nice suits on, but that's part of his brand. Just go out and find one nice suit that fits you pretty well.
Absolutely. And the prequel to that would be, if you are a guy that just loves rocking a polo shirt, like golf attire in this athleisure culture that we're living in, buy one that fits. I've been overweight for a long time. When I first got into custom clothing, I bought stuff that was comfortable. It made me look heavier and less put together than if I had made something for myself that fit my body. So if you're out there and you're looking to start your wardrobe, you're a college graduate, you're going for interviews, you're doing internships, you're going on to grad school, whatever it may be, whatever you wear, make sure it fits and make sure you feel good in it. Fabric choice is everything. I mean, if you're getting back to the outdoorsy thing, I do not hike or camp or hunt or fish in cotton. Cotton's a silent killer. We live in the South. It gets wet, it stays wet. Performance fabric, that's the key. And when it comes to building a wardrobe, do take the time to get a navy suit. Get a navy suit that fits you well. If you're spending a little bit less money, you're a little bit more budget conscious out of necessity, Find one and then spend the extra $80 to $100 to have it tailored to fit you. So if the closest thing is a 42 reg, take it to a local shop, take it to a place that sells custom and say, hey, this is what I'm working with. Do you have a tailor? Can you make this fit me better? And you'll start to build a relationship with those guys. And then as you start to make income, the common number is you should spend 2 to 4% of your annual salary on your wardrobe. It does not define what that wardrobe needs to look like. Everybody's different. But take the time to invest in yourself. We spend so much money on diet, on fitness, on our vehicles, on our iPhones. You'd be amazed that 2 to 4% of your annual income is very easy to put into what you wear every day. But yeah, buy stuff that fits you well. Buy stuff that reflects your personality, because you can't fake it till you make it by wearing something that Gordon Gekko, as we mentioned earlier, would. Do not buy a French blue shirt with white collar and cuffs. If you do, own it. Like, don't just throw it into the rest of your normal wardrobe. Build something around it. If that's your style or you want to try stuff out, that's fine. But don't wear your seersucker suit from Easter 23 and throw in, a Gordon Gekko shirt and expect it to go well. It's not going to look put together. But hey, as far as David Pickler's concerned, I love a 3-piece suit. Mm-hmm. It has that extra air of this was on purpose. Mm-hmm. I put myself together. It all goes. It's part of who I am. The people that buy double-breasted suits and 3-piece suits wear them often. They wear them well. It's a confidence builder. It's also great for public speaking, too, a 3-piece suit, because you can unbutton the front and still look very British, very put together, chest up, chin out. But also, mid-speech, you can relax it. There's a lot of different things that you can do with stuff like that can set you apart as an individual.
That's a great bullseye. And I'm inspired, both of y'all. Y'all don't know this about each other, but y'all have lost significant weight in the past year. Y'all look great. I'm inspired. Man. It's time to get custom suits, right?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I can come back with tape measure and books next time. I know where y'all are now.
That's exactly right.
Alley Park. This is a nice little area back here. I was impressed rolling back here to the back of the neighborhood.
Yeah, we definitely have a nice a nice little office nest back here, overlooking a lake. I mean, like every day, I look out. I'm like, oh wow,
it's magical.
Got a great view.
It's a very well thought out area, and this building is impressive. Again, everything's prepared. Everything has its place. Everything was on purpose.
Yes.
To use a buzzword from David's book.
Yes.
Being intentional is very, very strong. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Being intentional about something communicates a lot.
Oh, there's the closing bell. Ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of yet another episode of the BullCast podcast. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to go to your favorite subscription service and sign up to have our podcast delivered directly to your device every single Thursday at noon. If you'd like to find out more about Cort, Katie, Cam, or Nicole, please feel free to go to our website. That's bullcastpodcast.com. We've got our bios. We've got pictures. You can leave a comment. You can suggest a topic if you'd like to hear us talk about something. If you like pictures, boy, we've got pictures on the website, but we've also got an Instagram handle. That handle is at BullCast Podcast. And we've got an X handle, which is also at BullCast Podcast. And then finally, we've got a Facebook page. That page is BullCast the Podcast. And finally, we've mentioned that we work at a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors. And if you would like to find out more about that, find out about our amazing team, find out about what we can do for you, and find out about our boss, David Pickler, please feel free to go to that website. That is picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That's advisors with an O.
Not an E. Ladies and gentlemen, I have given you everything that you need to go forth and be well dressed. So for now, I'm Cort.
I'm Cam.
I'm Wiggins.
He's Wiggins, and we're done.